Good morning. Thank you for coming to Team Policy Judges Training. Let me get my slides ready. This Team Policy Judges Training is for our Challenge 1 class this year, 2025. And the three things we will be talking about is the form of how the debate will take place, the flow, which is how you are going to keep track of the arguments, and feedback is what is the expectation from the judges on how to return information back to the student of one or two items they can work on and one or two items that they did well during the round. So form, team policy, TP, team policy, TP, team policy debate is a policy debate, which means that there's an existing government policy in the United States that is going to be argued. There will be two teams. The first team is the affirmative team. The affirmative team wants change. They want change. They want to change the existing policy, and they're going to give you harms of why that policy should be changed. The negative team wants status quo, no change. Everything is fine, and so they're going to poke holes and arguments against the affirmative team. The only team who has a prepared speech is the affirmative team because they have had time to research their case, and so the burden of proof is on them. The form. Continuing with the form, if you look at the picture, there are four speakers. When you are facing them, the two speakers on your left are going to be the affirmative team. They want the change. They are building their case. The first four speeches is building their case that change should be done. And so if you're facing the debaters and the students on the right are your negative speakers. They will be poking holes against the affirmative team's case. They're saying status quo, what's happening now is good. No change is needed. When they begin, they will ask you, Judge, good morning. Do you have a judging philosophy? What would you like to see in the round? Some of the judges, they normally would say, I would like for you to double tag so I can keep track. Double tag means whenever they make a point, they're going to have a title for that. You want them to repeat it so that you can write it on your flow, which we will be discussing later. Now, when you say that, they should be able to apply that. So if they don't, then you can say, I noticed that you forgot to double tag. Now you could also tell them, please speak slow. This is my first time. Please make sure to add on something funny or enjoy your debate or be kind to one another. Whatever you want to see on the debate, you can go ahead and tell them. Let's move on to the next one. Now for form of how the speakers are going to be talking or sharing, there will be four main speeches on the constructive, meaning they're building their case. The first speaker is called the first affirmative constructive speaker, and they call that speaker the 1AC. They speak for 8 minutes and they build their case. After they're done, there's going to be a cross-ex, but before that, I just want to talk about the speakers first, the main speaking points. The negative team will come up also, and they're going to respond to what the affirmative said. That is the first negative constructive speaker, 8 minutes, and they're going to poke holes on the case that the affirmative said. The second affirmative speaker is going to come up, and when the second affirmative constructive speaker comes up, they're going to continue to build their case, and they're also going to respond to the first negative constructive's points. Whatever they said, they're going to respond to it, so on and so forth. Now, in between the main speeches, there is what we call cross-examination. These are not speeches. This is a time after the 1AC or the first affirmative constructive speaker speaks for 8 minutes, the opposing team will come up and just ask questions. It could be clarifying questions. It could be questions that will kind of give you some doubt of why their plan might not work. And so they're just going to ask each other questions facing the judge. So after every speech, there is a cross-examination from the opposing team. All right. Now, here is the outline basically. The first affirmative constructive will speak. There's going to be a cross-examination, and then they're going to sit down. The second affirmative constructive will speak. The opposing team will come up and ask questions, and they both sit down. The second affirmative constructive will speak. Cross-examination will happen, asking questions from what they just said, and they both sit down. And the last one will come up, 2NC, 2 negative constructive will come up. And then after they speak for 8 minutes, cross-examination will come, and they'll ask questions, and they'll both sit down. This is only half of the actual debate. On the second semester, we will be doing the full debate, which is 8 speeches. Right now, we're just focusing on the 4. Flow. Flow is how the judges keep track of the arguments. The arguments flow from left to right of your spreadsheet, of your sheet. You're going to listen to what they're saying and you're going to write it down. And after that, the next speaker comes up, and when they respond, you're going to go ahead and draw a line that shows what they said in response to what the previous speaker said. Let's take a look on how that form looks like. The form is, it will look like this. The first speaker, let me just annotate right here, is called the first affirmative speaker. So let's say it's Ben. So you write down Ben. Ben is speaking. Sorry, I am not a good hand drawer here. Let's say, for instance, the resolution, which means what they want to change. Let's say the resolution is the government should subsidize adopting dogs. Let's just say this is what they want to change. They want the government to start subsidizing adopting dogs. So the affirmative case wants this to happen. This is what they want to do. So let's say, for instance, the first thing they might give you is a definition. They're going to give you a definition. They're going to say, Judge, let's just define what subsidize means. Subsidize. And so they're going to give you from the Webster Dictionary, this is what that means, this and that. And they might choose several other words. Let me see here. Subsidize. There we go. And they're going to tell you according to the Webster Dictionary, Webster, it means this. And you can just take note. They might choose 1 or 2, 3 words. After that, they're going to give you their harms. When they give you their harms, you can go ahead and type it out. And if they say, Judge, the reason why me and my partner would like this change is because there is currently an excess. Let's say their first harm is that there is an excess of dogs. And we believe that the government should subsidize that so that there are no excess dogs that don't have people caring for them. The second harm that we want to say, Judge, is that owners of dogs or owners don't go out, or people don't go out. Whatever they say, you just write. They don't go out of their house, and it would be good for them to do that. So those are our 2 harms. And so they move on to say mandate. Mandate means their plan. How is this going to take place? Okay, this is going to happen. How? So they're going to tell you how that's going to happen, and then they're going to tell you the agency. They might say the Congress is going to pass this to law, and then the president will sign it. And then they might say that funding will come out as a new budget, which is going to be like $300 billion. We're going to create a budget for this. And after that, I just want to say, Judge, that the advantages are for the people adopting and having this new law is that dogs are good friends, and so there's more people who are gonna find good friends, and we need that, and people need that. And then also that we want to argue the advantage of adopting dogs is that dogs are better than cats. So whatever they say, you just write it down. You just write it down. And so I'm gonna move this a bit. Here we go. All right. So when the first affirmative speaker So we have here the first affirmative speaker is done. They might say at the end, Judge, for all these reasons, we would like to request that you vote affirmative, that that the government should subsidize adopting dogs. Thank you. So they get a cross-examination. The other person might ask them, can you tell me again why we're doing this? Oh, because, and then so the affirmative will answer, and they're like, will this really work? And how is this going to work? So they're going to just talk about that. The opposing team will argue, and then the other team who's presenting the case will just respond. After 3 minutes, they sit down. The next speaker will come in, and the next speaker is, let's say, Mia. Mia comes in, and she is going to respond, and she's going to say, Judge, for all the definitions that they have, I just want to say, Judge, that we agree. We agree to all their cases. We agree to all their definition cases. Okay, so I'm going to put an arrow pointing here that they are in agreement. Now, Judge, they said that one of their harms, they said there's an excess of dogs. Well, Judge, our response to that is this. So what I did is I put an arrow there, and then they're going to say that this is non-unique. There is actually an excess of all pets, not just dogs. So we would argue, Judge, this is not a good case because there are other pets that need adopting. And not only that, Judge, our other response is that owners are going to go out. Well, we want to say that owners actually may adopt just for money. And if they're only adopting for money, they're not going to want to go out. They're going to be lazy. And so I'm gonna go ahead and draw an arrow for this, because for me it reminds me that this answer is for that that point, that item that the affirmative team or the previous speaker is responding to, what they're responding to that was given by the previous speaker. Now let's say, for instance, they said that this is going to happen now. I'm like, that's fine. So they don't have to respond to that. They're just stating that is the plan. But they can respond to, what if they decide to respond to the budget? Judge, this is, they could say that, so where's it going to come from? This is, as they said during Cross X, this is going to be taxpayers' expense. People don't even like pets, and that's fine. Why would everybody be penalized for something about adopting dogs? That's not an important thing. And so taxpayers' expense, I don't want to pay for that, and a lot of people don't want to pay for that, although there are people who do, and they should be the ones paying for it. But it shouldn't be the entire country paying for these dogs to be adopted. And so the other thing that they could also say is that dogs are best friends. Well, they could respond to that and say, actually, Judge, I believe dogs can distract. Like as a student, Judge, it's actually sometimes difficult to concentrate. And so having that is actually more of a burden, because I have to take care of the dog, I have to feed the dog, it can distract from what I need to do. And they are saying dogs are better than cat. And my response to that, Judge, is that cats are calmer. Dogs jump on you and everything, and they can actually be very it's going to be hard for them for me to stay concentrated, even, or for people. Dogs are not better than cats. Cats are calmer, so they are better than cats. So whatever they argue is what you put into the flow, and then so on and so forth. After the one AC speaks, the one NC speaks, then the two AC speaks. Now, Brian can come up here and actually respond again. So they're not going to respond back to the definition because that's already done. What Brian can do and say, Judge, they said that in response to our excess of dogs, that excess of all pets. But Judge, we're not trying to solve for the problem of all dogs. We're only trying to solve the problem for all pets, or for all animals. We're only responding that our mandate is actually just for dogs. So I understand that there's a sentiment that then there could be another policy for that. But right now we're only arguing for this. So if you notice that the flow will help you and guide you to make sure that there is responses to arguments that need to be responded to all the way across. So when they respond, this response should be whatever they give here on this column on 2AC, 2NC should respond to it. Does that make sense? So 1NC responds to 1AC, 2AC responds to 1NC, and 2NC responds to 2AC. I hope that's clear. All right, let me go ahead and clear this out. Clear. Excellent. And let's move on to the next slide. Feedback. So we've done form, we've done flow, and now feedback. The student's goal is to speak with clarity, listen to arguments, formulate a response, and respond well in a kind, persuasive manner. If you notice, I placed kind, persuasive manner, I think that's bolded, in red and italicized, in order for the students to, I've told the students to remember that in comparison to other debates that they might have been to, we are here formulating good argumentation in a kind and persuasive response. So it's not, we're not a full-on like maybe a STOA debate, which is more really intense in a way, although everybody starts somewhere. So we want to make sure that we are practicing we're modeling and practicing the ability to speak with clarity, our arguments. And if you're listening, you're listening intently, being able to keep the flow. Students are also keeping a flow, so they know what to respond to, and then they're responding to it in their arguments. And then after that, they are to respond with kindness. Now, being loud or being excited doesn't mean it's not good. It's the words that they use. So if you can give a feedback, if you find that something's a bit more like, okay, we need to make that a little bit more calmer or something. But majority of our students can range from novices who are doing this for the first time and they're not certain exactly how these things are still happening, even though we practiced. So we want to be kind to them and encourage them and say, hey, great job, keep on doing this. You want to give them one glow or one grow or two. The same thing with our more advanced students who have been doing debate seasoned. We can give them encouragement from their level and say, great job on that argumentation. So as you see them debate, you can kind of hear where they're coming from. But regardless of where they're coming from, we want to encourage all of them. So share with students how well they spoke and what they can improve on. We don't want to give too much that they don't know where to start. We want to give either one or two. That would be a great amount. And this is the form that we're going to need back from you. So were they persuasive? Were they organized? How was their delivery? And then how did they provide evidence? Another way for evidence could be logical arguments as well. So cross-examination, were they clear when they were cross-examining somebody, and when they were being cross-examined, sorry, and then the refutation, were they able to kind of respond well or respond to the argument? You can put a comment down here and just write down one or two things for both glow and grow. That would be great. And then on the bottom, it says cross-examiner. So you want to put in as being the cross-examiner when they were asking questions, how were they? Were they intent? Was their questions good? So you can also give them a score for that. At the end of the day, this is the only sheet I'm going to need. So I want to say thank you for judging. Thank you for helping us out. There's going to be another form on the judging folder, which will have kind of more of like information of how to address or how to write feedback for the students. If that will help you, go read through that. You can start keeping notes of how the speakers are doing while they're speaking. That way, you don't have to, you won't forget like who said that or anything. You can always write that on a separate piece of paper for yourself. If you want to give us your flow back, that would be great, because that would be a way for the students to know how well they said something. Again, it's their responsibility to win your vote. You as a judge, you come in clean slate. Even though you know anything about the topic, you're supposed to only judge them with what's on your flow, because that's the only information you have about the case. Nothing previous counts. only what's been delivered and said during the arguments, during the team policy debate. Thank you and have a wonderful day. God bless you and thank you for your time. Bye.